In this episode, we'll explore how to build relationships with identified communities and community-based organizations, in addition to identifying their needs. The EWB USA New Orleans Professional Chapter has plenty of experience building relationships and identifying needs. Our film crew caught up with them and two of their partner organizations to learn more about how CE Core made a significant contribution to the success of the Grow Dat Youth Farm.
My name is Leo Gorman. I'm farm manager here at Grow Dat Youth Farm. Grow Dat Youth Farm is a youth leadership development project in which young people, teenagers, ages 15 to 21 are coming to our farm across race, class, gender diversity, geographic diversity, and to advance their leadership through the container of food and farming. One of the tenets of how Grow Dat was founded was in a post-Katrina environment in which young people were underemployed or not employed. And so we wanted to create a project in which young people have employment. So young people are coming and getting paid in a job capacity. They're spending half their time working in sustainable agriculture and the other half of their time participating in workshops about food justice, cooking classes, leadership, health and wellness, and overall using those experiences to advance their own leadership.
Their entire organization is about leadership development with the youth in New Orleans, and it's sort of disguised as a farm, basically. And then they really push the kids to speak up and learn about social justice, food justice, and agriculture as well.
A lot of these kids grow up in an urban environment, may not get to be on a farm, much less work on one. And I think that having that experience as well as the work ethic teaches them some unique life skills that they might not have received otherwise.
Building potential partner relationships allows us to understand the partner's capacity, both technical and managerial. Your presence, the way you reach out and communicate, influence the success of your project.
Relationships, they take effort and they take initiative, and you got to take action. That's really one of the most important skills that you could have as an engineer, is developing relationships.
Engineers Without Borders has been a fundamental partner in implementation of Grow Dat, and that partnership goes back to the founding of this project on this site in City Park.
The relationship with Grow Dat has evolved over time. When we first became involved with them, they had an executive director that had founded Grow Dat and started the whole thing. She left, she had found another opportunity. And so it's been interesting that even once she's left and they have a new director, that we've just continued that relationship. We made a point to reach back out to them and let that new director know that we were available to help them.
After I became the project lead for Grow Dat, I reached out to them. We had a couple of exploratory phone calls. I went out to their site, and over the next several months and what turned out to be 3 years, we built a relationship of pursue their goal or help them pursue their goal with City Park for this expansion.
I think it's a really special organization, and so that's why, we really want to be involved with them in any capacity, whether that is just simply attending one of their events. And we're also even more excited about being able to provide professional services to them and just give them that confidence that they have that professional help, and allows them to just move forward with their mission and continue to develop youth in New Orleans.
Grow Dat Youth Farm is a great example of where the community led a discussion. In this case, the needs of both Grow Dat and their design partners at Tulane University were assessed by the EWB USA New Orleans Professional Chapter through a process that guided understanding and prioritization of the project's technical requirements.
The beginning of Grow Dat was a pilot project in another location in New Orleans. And as we were working with City Park and Tulane School of Architecture to site and plan for our current site in New Orleans, Engineers Without Borders, particularly Mitchell and Bob, played very important roles in helping us think through how we want to work with the site in terms of infrastructure, in terms of doing soil tests, and helping us to think about grading, helping us to think about surveying, and lending their expertise in ways that we didn't have the capacity to fulfill.
The Tulane Small Center, one of the services we provide is architectural and design services for nonprofits in the New Orleans community. And one of our recent projects was the Grodat Youth Farm in City Park. The design process that we go through, we very consciously listen to our partners, what they're expecting, what their goals are and their mission is, and then come up with a design that responds to those desires and is a collaborative process. We don't come in and tell folks what they need. We work collaboratively to come up with a solution to their issues or challenges or desires for their project. The Engineers Without Borders CE Corps was a unique and vital partner in this project because they're accustomed to working in sites without as much infrastructure. And one of the things about Grodat as a project is that they wanted to tread lightly on the land and really be good stewards of that property and the environment. And so what we came up with together was a strategy to manage all stormwater on site and treat that gray water and stormwater as we were both returning it to the lagoons or using evapotranspiration beds, particularly for the bathrooms and kitchens. So even the foundation systems that were designed, the shipping containers that were used, all of that was done with an idea about having as light a footprint and as minimal an impact on the site, and really showing the values of like us as designers and as Grodat as an organization with the way that we approached the design and the implementation of that design. There was a lot of things that made the site a little bit off-grid compared to some of the other projects that we do, and so that's when Engineers Without Borders came in and really helped us address some of those challenges in that project.
Originally, the farm was 7 acres. They farmed about 2 of those acres. And whenever they contacted us, they were interested in expanding, basically doubling in size from 7 to 14 acres. And they also wanted to renovate 2 existing structures. They didn't necessarily know how they were going to do it, and that's where we came in. Within our group, we have geotech engineers, surveyors, mechanical, electrical, all these engineers that have the skill sets that Grodat needed to make these a reality.
Our city is a very swampy area, and so they wanted a survey of the topography initially just to decide how much of that land was actually useful, like what could they actually grow, where could they actually grow crops versus was just sort of a wetland where stuff was not going to grow, like as far as produce. So we assisted them with that to give them the contouring of that site. And then once they kind of aggregated like, okay, we can grow stuff here, we can grow stuff here, we sort of finalized the limits and helped work with them to get the limits of the whole area that they would lease.
We walked the site to get a lay of the land. We set property corners. We asked City Park if the limits of that expansion were acceptable. We produced drawings and we got a preliminary okay from City Park for that area. Then we also needed to address the condition of the existing soils. Since it is a farm, we had to make sure that it was the right conditions. We took samples, got it analyzed, sent it to the LSU Ag Center, sent those results to Grodat, and some of their farm managers analyzed it to make sure that it was going to be acceptable for them.
As CE Corps volunteers, you'll also need to be clear upfront with all the project stakeholders about what you can and cannot do. That means deadlines have to be realistic, and everyone needs to understand that there are only so many hours your team can devote each month to the project. Knowing who the key contacts are among your partners and establishing a communication schedule with them are essential to setting the right expectations.
I think it's very important to set clear expectations, not only on the limits of your capabilities, but also the timeline. During our work with Grodat, we told them up front, you're gonna have to be responsible for your own fundraising. You need to be responsible for the labor. We'll help guide you through those processes. We'll give you the design, and through CE Corps, we're able to actually stamp drawings for them and have the proper insurance in place. And we made sure that we gave them a detailed schedule with how long we expected our work to take, as well as the approval process. Since we're volunteers working nights and weekends, it might move a little bit slower than somebody that's engineering full-time.
Grodat Youth Farm is a great example for us to study in building relationships and identifying needs. The New Orleans team learned more about their potential partners by asking the right questions and listening carefully for things like technical gaps that needed filling. Their community assessment helped determine that the project was sustainable, both in the technical sense and also because there was a funding model that made sense. And the New Orleans chapter was clear right up front that the volunteer nature of any project has its limits. For you and your CE Corps project, the foundation for all these aspects of building great relationships and identifying needs is a solid foundation based on honest communications and trust among the partners.